Jokic is definitely going to play tomorrow night, barring some sort of catastrophe. The Nuggets sit as 5-point favorites. Total is 228.5. No market movement because I think we were kind of expecting Jokic was going to play. Denver's money line price has gone up a little bit. Nuggets minus 200. Phoenix plus 165. Ken, you were saying last hour on the show that you kind of thought that the series might devolve into a rock fight a little bit, that the shot making, it's almost impossible that the players kind of keep this up. But we kind of did that, with the specter of Jokic maybe not playing in the game. Now we know he's going to. Do you still feel that way? That under is going to be your likely play coming up for game number 5? Like, now that we know that Jokic is in, your feelings on the game?
I was definitely handicapping that game and the rest of the series, or thinking about the game like I thought Jokic was going to play. And the liking of the under is basically just had a game with 253, but now we're kind of like on this more compressed schedule, which we haven't been on the entire series. Ton of time off between games 2 and 3, which I think allowed Phoenix to really kind of gather themselves, and obviously for their 2 players who play every minute to rest. And it's not like, look, Denver doesn't really have a lot of bench. Jokic plays a lot too. But I feel like even more is being kind of squeezed out of Booker and Durant's possible minutes as much as possible, and especially in game 3 and game 4. Doesn't seem realistically sustainable. They're awesome. Maybe it's sustainable. Just doesn't seem it's very realistic. I wouldn't be surprised with the Nuggets blowout here whatsoever. I don't know if I want to bet on it. They should be favored. This is probably, it's a little Lakers-Grizzlies-esque. This is probably the market we get at least the next 2 games where we like flip 4.5s each way, which happened in the Lakers-Grizzlies series as we got later. Home court advantage really powerful later in the series. I do like the under, to answer your question. That I will bet that. How would you feel about game 6? So let's say home court holds, Nuggets win. Game 6 market is Phoenix by 4.5 or 4. Chris Paul says, I'm playing. What would that make you want to do?
I would feel like him. I feel like it would be a positive if he played. I don't know if it would make me want to bet Phoenix necessarily. I feel like the Suns would win the game. I feel like Phoenix would win and force a game 7, assuming that Denver wins game 5 and Chris Paul plays in game 6. I don't know if like Chris Paul playing like, wow, like now I need to bet Phoenix. I don't think, and I understand why you said what you said earlier, like should he even play? Like totally understood like why you said that. And I think like there's an argument to be made certainly that that's right. Just that he's still, even if he's like watered down
bodies.
Chris Paul. Yes, yes. Even if he's watered down Chris Paul, he's 50 times better than some of the guys that are playing. And like he does, and like big game experience. The big games have not always gone well for Chris Paul, but like he's played in a lot of them.
Back just in time for the big games.
It's a choke again. But no, like listen, Chris Paul plays in the game. It's not like, oh my God, like now I need to bet Phoenix.
Yeah.
I feel better about them winning the game though. At least winning the game and forcing a game 7. I just feel like I know what I want to do with the rest of the series now. And maybe I'm going to be wrong. I could definitely be wrong. I've been wrong a million times before. I'm going to bet the Celtics in game 5. I'll lay the 7 with Boston. And then I'm going to bet Philly in game 6. And I'll bet Philly in game 7. Like not to win, but I'll bet Philly to cover in game 6. And I will bet Philly catching points in game number 7. I just feel like that's how this Boston team is. And you said, Ken, like, I don't know how the Celtics lose. They've kind of like losses have fallen under these 2 umbrellas. What else is there? I think there's at least one more our coach sucks loss in the chamber here for the Celtics in this series. Possible. At least one more. Also, like I watch this team. How the hell, and like it doesn't mean they can't beat the Sixers or beat the Knicks or the Heat or go to the finals or even win. How the hell is this team winning an NBA championship? Like, how's it happening? Like, how are the Celtics going to win a championship this year? I don't see it. I'm willing to be wrong. Not a guarantee. Just that I watch this team, and I think, like, they're weak in big spots a lot of the time, and I think that they're incredibly untrustworthy. So the blueprint for me is set. It's Celtics in game 5 to go up 3-2, Sixers in game 6 to tie it up at 3, and then I'll take a shot on Philly in game 7. And maybe it doesn't play out like that, but Ken, that is my blueprint right now for how I plan on betting the rest of the series.
This is a fascinating series. I agree with his game 5 and game 6 opinions. I think the Celtics wiped the floor in game 5, game 6, slightly in the Sixers, pushing it to go the distance. The big question for Game 7 is going to be coaching. Clearly, Joe Mazzulla is not exactly comporting himself as the next Eric Spoelstra out there. Some of the decisions he's made in these games have been perplexing, confounding, frustrating if you're a Celtics backer. And then the time management at the end of overtime, not even to get a shot up, was like, what are we doing here, guys? This was the plan. But ultimately, the fact that Doc Rivers has I think he's lifetime in Game 7s, just off the top of my head. 0-50, something like that. But whatever the case is, it's going to be a question of who do you trust more between two guys who I don't know that I have a ton of solid feelings for. I guess my only other kind of general thought, if I had to take a spot, I'm taking the Celtics series just because, at this point, it looks like Embiid is giving you everything he's got on the defensive end as much as he can early in these games, and he's just running out of gas in the second half. It looks like I doubt that the injury miraculously heals itself between now and the end of this series, or between now and the end of the 76ers run. So, this kind of goes as Harden goes, and if Harden can put together back-to-back, all-time performances in Game 6 and Game 7, I'm going to pay to see it. I'm sorry. I don't know that I can see Harden going, wire to wire down, in crunch time in a playoff series. But if he did, it would be a great story. So, but I'm going to be on the other side of him probably.
When you've got money on a big horse race like this, and it comes down to it at the very end, and whether your horse wins or not, and obviously you'd much rather win than lose, of course, but you get that moment at the end where there's the, oh my God, like, I think we're actually going to win, or is this going to happen? That moment, is there like a better moment to sweat when you bet on sports? Like the one maybe it's like playoff overtime hockey, like a game-winning field goal attempt that swings a bet one way or another. I actually don't think there's anything better than that moment. Like down the stretch they come. Which horse is going to win? The thrill of that moment is like, I have goosebumps right now, like saying it out loud. Is that the best sweat in all of sports betting?
Well, it's like the fastest one, right? It's like all compressed into a really short amount of time. Because like Tyler brings up golf. I think like a golf sweat it stops being fun really fast and it becomes agony. It's agony for hours. Like you bet, Brooks Koepka to win the Masters. Your Sunday sucks. Like your Sunday's miserable. Even if he's like ends up winning the tournament, you're miserable the whole way up until he wins. He's up like 6 shots or whatever. And obviously he ends up losing to John Rahm. So like that's in a way that's like the best sweat because you can't help it. You're like so drawn into everything that's happening and it's so slow. And you just playoff baseball, I guess, would be like that too, before the pitch clock, where just like 9th inning tie game and like you have the other team to win a lot of money or something like that. So those are the sweats where you're just like, oh my God. Free throw end games in college basketball where you
those are
on the
never
other
fun.
side of the number. Yeah. So these are, but I just described things that are like bad that like I don't want to be a part of these things. Well, I guess I want to have a golfer in the mix on Sunday because then I can win. But like I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to feel anything like any of the things that we already just talked about. But I do want to feel like having a horse in the closing stretch, like in a huge race and having a chance. And I've been more on the right side of them than the wrong side, but I've been on the wrong side of a couple, including the maximum security disqualification a couple of years ago, which was absolutely death to have to follow. It's just, you're right. For that 10 seconds, maybe it's like the best, they call the Kentucky Derby, the best 2 minutes in sports or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that like the best 10 seconds in sports betting? Is that what it is? Something like that?
It might be. I think it might be if you've got a horse at the end.